once I got into the locker room, you know, big league locker room, walked the stadium a little bit, took like little sprints here and there, played catch. I was wow, like amazed. I've never won the lottery, but I mean, it's maybe a feeling, something to that sort.
As appreciative as Vince is about his opportunity, his teammates and Phillies fans all around are excited to see what the next page of the Velasquez story will be. And we find out tonight. I think it's safe to say that the Phillies fans have been looking forward to this start tonight at Citizens Bank Park since last week when the Vince Velasquez show arrived and picked up 16 strikeouts against the San Diego Padres. His return to the mound tonight in Game 2 of this 3-game series against the Mets. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, joined by Ben Davis. All right, so the numbers were staggering the other day. As we go through tonight's ballgame, we'll talk about where it sits as far as history goes in baseball and even in recent terms. But one thing that is for sure, he sustained his velocity from start to finish last time out.
That really shows the preparation he has and the condition that he has put in, not only in spring training but in the offseason. To sustain that velocity really is something. I know he's young kid, but to be able to do that over 9 innings really is something.
Now, he did go to his secondary pitches a little bit more as the night moved on, but that was a good thing because he was starting to get them off the fastball. But predominantly fastballs in this 16 strikeout performance. We'll watch one after another in these videos.
It's just really incredible how this fastball really just gets into a different gear. It has a different life. It gets halfway to home plate and it just explodes. Sometimes you throw it in on lefties, it would have a slight cut to it. Sometimes it would have a little bit of a sinking motion to it, but overall he was just dominant with that heater.
Well, one thing that we did notice is that the last inning he topped out at 97 miles an hour, and you saw the exuberance after he picked up strikeout number 16 to wrap up that game against the Padres. Tonight is the encore. He'll be opposed by Logan Verrett, who's making his second start, his third appearance overall. He's starting for Jacob deGrom, who'll be back in the Mets rotation this weekend when they go to Atlanta. David Wright is back in the lineup again tonight in the 2-hole. Another multi-home run game last night, his 21st of his career. Lineups and first pitch when we return. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. By Toyota. Toyota's hybrid fleet is nothing short of a home run. Visit your local Toyota dealer today. By Citizens Bank. The next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself. Ask a citizen. And by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Learn more at IBX.com. Independence Blue Cross Philly of the Week is introducing himself to Philadelphia in striking style. Thursday afternoon versus the Padres was a 113-pitch performance of domination by Vince Velasquez. His first complete game shutout consisted of 80% first pitch strikes, while retiring 22 of the final 23 batters he faced. His fastball was humming all game as he fanned 16 batters, the most by a Philly since Cliff Lee in 2011. The 23-year-old has a 15-inning scoreless streak in his first 2 starts. And his stinginess is brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Well, we'll see if that stinginess will continue tonight against the New York Mets. It's Vince Velasquez's second start against New York, and he's finished up his warm-up tosses. Let's see the lineup he's going to face tonight. Brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. It'll be Granderson, Wright, and Conforto, followed by Cespedes, Lucas Duda, who's got good numbers here at this ballpark, and Neil Walker. And the bottom third of his Drupal Cabrera, Travis d'Arnaud, and Logan Verrett, and they will face the 23-year-old who's coming off a 113-pitch performance his last time out. He threw 83 strikes, and there are his numbers. Just 3 walks in 15 innings of work. So he's ready to go. Curtis Granderson will dig in. Granderson 0 for 4 in yesterday's ball game, hitting 143 with a home run and 1 RBI. First pitch of the night is in there for a strike, and it's no balls and 1 strike.
Take a look at the scouting report for Vince Velasquez. He'll sit right about 94 miles an hour. He is a 4-pitch pitcher and averaging just over 14 pitches per inning.
Inside 1-1. And I guess from a power pitcher standpoint, you would imagine he would average about 14, 15 pitches per inning.
Yes.
Because of all the strikeouts. Inside.
Jared Eichhoff able to get inside on the Granny Man a few times last night.
Fouled at the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Home plate umpire tonight is Ed Hickox. Man's got a badge. Mike Esterbrook's at first. Dana DeMuth's at second. Greg Gibson's around at third. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Granderson. Breaking ball, did he go? Yes, he did, says Ed Hickox. 1 away here in the first. Time now for our keys to the game. All right, Ben, take it away.
Well, the Phillies, unfortunately, are 30th in all of Major League Baseball in runs per game, so hopefully they can string some hits together and have some big innings here. And Vince, don't try to be even better than you were your last outing. Stay within yourself. Stick with what got you that great performance.
Well, here's David Wright, who he did not face when the Phillies and the Mets battled at Citi Field. Wright last night hit 2 home runs. He's hit in 4 straight. Overall hitting .289 on the year with a couple of homers. Fastball in there. It's 0-1.
Hear the pop of that mitt from up here, Tom.
Well, Pete Mackanin was asked about velocity and could he sustain it again. And Pete said, listen, we're going to watch him tonight, and we'll watch him the next couple of starts. We'll see how easy, if it is easy for him to get through 5 innings or so, and then we'll take it from there. He said, you know, we're going to be careful with him. He said, you know, Pete was honest about it. No balls and 2 strikes, 7 pitches, 6 fastballs so far for Velasquez, and that's the second breaking pitch. The Phillies, according to Fangraphs, have thrown the most curveballs in baseball percentage-wise this year. 27% of the pitches they've thrown have been curveballs. Now, Velasquez will mix in a breaking ball, but he's not part of that category. That category belongs to Aaron Nola, Jared Eichhoff, Jeremy Hellickson, who will start tomorrow, but 27.4% curveballs for the Phils. The next closest team are the A's. They've thrown 20.5% of their pitches as curveballs. It's the renaissance of the curveball here in Philadelphia, Ben.
You have that much success with something, you want to keep doing the same thing.
Well, Pete said today there's nothing really to it except for we have guys that throw the curveball.
Yes.
It's part of their repertoire. 3 balls, 2 strikes to David Wright. And that one is rocketed into left field. A 95-mile-an-hour fastball that he's able to turn on. And Wright's on his way to second, so he'll get there. And he's there standing with his 4th double of the year. He's now hitting 5 straight.
0-2 to 3-2. You know what you're going to get. You have a power pitcher on the mound. David Wright doing some damage against the Phillies in his career.
Yeah, 36 home runs, including 22 here at Citizens Bank Park. Pretty hefty on base percentage. That'll bring Michael Conforto to the plate. Conforto in his 5th game in the 3-hole since Terry Collins moved into that spot. 5 for 15 with 3 doubles in the previous 4 games. Swing and a miss, 0-1. Another fastball, and it's 0-2. Conforto was 0 for 3 last week at Citi Field against Velasquez with 1 strikeout. In the air to right field. That's a breaking ball that's set down toward the wall. Low is back, and it is gone. A 2-run home run for Conforto. And the Mets strike first. Well, they lead it 2-0. They had a solo home run in the 1st inning last night, and they have a 2-run home run here tonight.
You always have to be careful of falling into patterns with hitters. Able to get ahead on the first 3 has Vince Velasquez, and he's gone to that breaking ball every time. Michael Conforto goes down and golfs this ball out to right field. Well, he did against Grandy and was able to get a swing. Did against David Wright. David wasn't fishing. That ball needed to be down a bit more than it was.
So 2-0 New York, and here is Cespedes, who was 1 for 4 with a big triple in yesterday's game. Fouls the first pitch back to the screen. It's 0-1. Mets have not hit many home runs this year. Much like the Phillies, that's just the 14th home run, but it's their 5th one in 2 games. Little high cheese. Two young players, Conforto and Vince Velasquez. No balls and 2 strikes to Cespedes. And he got it with a high fastball. It ran inside. So 2 strikeouts and 2 away here in the 1st. Tonight's ball game is also available in Spanish. Just use the SAP button on your television and change the language through the menu on your cable box.
See.
That was, by the way, the first home run surrendered this year for Velasquez. 15 1/3 innings. Here's Lucas Duda. Duda 233 with a home run and 7 RBIs. The home run came last night here in Philly. Off the hands, off the knuckles, back to the screen.
That was off the knuckles.
Short hops Cameron Rupp.
Another 0-2 breaking ball.
So they got to break this pattern, huh?
Well, it's just something to be aware of.
Well, that's a better breaking pitch there. He strikes out the side. However, the Mets take a 2-0 lead on a 2-run home run by Michael Conforto. We'll head to the bottom of the first. It's the Mets 2 and the Phillies coming up. South Philadelphia. Let's take a look at the Phil's lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. It'll be Galvis, Herrera, and Blanco, followed by Ryan Howard at first base. Maikel Franco bats fifth, and that was a topic of conversation earlier today. David Lowe will hit sixth in right field. In the bottom third of Cameron Rupp at catcher. Tyler Goodell in left field batting eighth, and Vince Velasquez hitting ninth. And they will face right-hander Logan Verrett, the 25-year-old from Corpus Christi, Texas. Former third-round draft pick of the Mets, and those are his numbers this year. This is a spot start for him, his second one, in place of Jacob deGrom, who will pitch this weekend for the Mets when they take on the Atlanta Braves.
Nothing really special about Logan. He'll sit right about 90 miles an hour, four-pitch pitcher, just in, out, up, down, and he's got a good idea on the mound, I guess we could say.
That's what Terry Collins said after his last outing. He said, listen, I know that whatever he's going to throw, he's going to throw with conviction, and he's going to know where it's going when he lets it fly. Freddie Galvis 1 for 4 in yesterday's game with a run and a double. Scored the only run for the Phils. Little chopper up the first base line, and Lucas Duda will just take a step to the bag, one out.
It's great to hear you say that, because no matter what we do, whether that be baseball or everyday life, if we don't have conviction in what we're doing, especially for a pitcher, if you're not having 100% conviction in the pitch that you're throwing, it's not going to be a successful pitch. But many meetings with a pitcher out of the mound saying, I think you should do this, and he goes, no way, I think this is the best pitch. I said, well, if you feel that strongly about it, let's do it. Let's get to it.
Yeah, because if he isn't going to feel totally 100% confident in it, it's not going to go the way you want it to.
No.
Odubel Herrera is the batter. Odubel 1 for 3 yesterday with an RBI. He has watched over 5 pitches per plate appearance so far this season, which is a total change from last year. Now, there were times where he was patient last year, but nothing like what he's done this season. 13 walks so far, and he takes in the dirt. The Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Ed Beatty of Philadelphia. Phillies hit a home run tonight. Ed, you are going to win $200.
Good luck, Ed.
Where did this wind come from tonight, then?
Been blowing all day. Coming over the Gerard Point Bridge today on 95, and it was moving my truck all over.
Really? That Wookiee was going all over the place, huh? 2 balls and 1 strike to Odubel. In the dirt, 3-1. He has walked in 5 consecutive games. Think about that. He walked 28 times last year. If he's lucky enough to walk here, he's already reached the midway point of his season. Yeah, there's ball 4, so he has reached the midway point of his season. And he's aboard for Andres Blanco.
It's one thing to say that you're going to change or do something differently, especially with the success that he had last season. But to say it and actually do it, it's cool. It's fun to watch.
Well, and the other part, as we talked about last night, he showed no signs of this in spring training.
Zero.
He'll take his lead off first, and Andres Blanco batting 3rd tonight and playing second base. Asked Pete today about Andres batting 3rd, and we'll talk to Pete a little later on in the telecast, but he said, hey, listen, we're looking for offense, and he's swinging the bat as well as anybody in our lineup right now, even though he's been coming off the bench. Hit the ball sharply in last night's game. Up high, 1-0. Pete has not been afraid to mix up the lineups this year, as you would imagine. His team is averaging 2.5 runs per game against the Mets this season. And overall, averaging less than 3 runs per game. On the outside corner, 1 ball and 1 strike. There goes. Pitch is lined to center field. That'll be in for a base hit. Herrera's on his way to 3rd. The throw by Cespedes is offline. Blanco's now caught between 1st and 2nd. Oh boy. The throw to 1st will pick up the rundown. Herrera's just anchoring at 3rd base, and Blanco was hoping he was going to take off. That's just poor base running on the part of the Phils. They had something cooking here in the 1st inning, but Blanco got a little too aggressive, and there are 2 outs.
It's a shame, too, because the throw by Cespedes was just errant. I think if Whitey continued to go towards second base, I think he would have made it. I think that ball, he just gets it now. I think he would have made it towards second base. But he does get caught in that pickle, and unfortunately is the 2nd out of the inning.
Yeah, it goes down as an 8-5-3, 6-3. Now Ryan Howard is up with Odubel at 3rd, and Howard fouls the first pitch off. It's 0-1.
And when you're not hitting as a ball club, those are the kind of mistakes that cannot happen. You end up running yourselves out of innings. Hopefully Big Piece can pick his teammate up here.
Out front, 0-2. Ryan hitting .200 with 4 homers and 7 RBIs. Odubel can get as much as he wants over at 3rd base, whether it matters or not.
That's why you see Verrett still in the stretch.
Brett steps off as Blanco looks. You know, he's frustrated with himself. I mean, he's as smart as they come when it comes to this game. It's an error in judgment. In the dirt, nice job by Darno, and it's 1-2.
Okay, give me the numbers again.
8.5363 is what I have. Jay Dunn, who's the official score tonight, I faintly heard that.
8.5363.
Yeah.
Thank you. The zip code.
Yeah. In the dirt, he lays off another off-speed pitch. It's 2-2. Way upstairs, 3-2. So Howard has run the count back full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Maikel Franco batting 5th tonight in the on-deck circle. Howard just got a piece of that. He was out front again. Well, Beretta has not been afraid of throwing all of his pitches at any point. He's got a fastball that ranges between 88 and 94, slider, a curveball, and a changeup. We've seen a lot of changeups already in this inning. His pitch total is up to 17. This will be the 18th. 3 balls, 2 strikes. That one is out toward left field, and Conforto will put it away, and the side is retired. 8-pitch at bat, but the Phils leave on in scoring position. We'll head to the second. It's New York 2 and Philadelphia 9. Second inning here at Citizens Bank Park. Velasquez struck out 3 in the first inning, so 12 of his last 15 outs have been strikeouts, dating back to the 16 strikeout game. And he will face Neil Walker, Asdrubal Cabrera, and Travis d'Arnaud. Walker had a home run the opposite way last night. It kind of showed his strength. I mean, guys hit balls the opposite way for homers, but it was an absolute bullet from the left side of the plate. Finished with 50 extra base hits last year, which was tops among second basemen in the National League. Just off the inside corner, 1 ball, 1 strike.
A good park to do it in as a lefty, not so much as a righty. Although the gap in PNC Park in Pittsburgh to left center field is pretty big, but the way it plays to right and right center, it's Very conducive to a lefty.
Change up inside, 2-1. Not too many change-ups for Velasquez. Out to left field. Tyler Goodell is there, and there's one away. Well, we're kind of curious to see what guys who have had 16 strikeouts or more followed that up with in recent years. So Max Scherzer's done it twice, and look how he followed it up. He followed up with 2 different outings where he had separate 16 strikeout games of 7 innings and 9 innings. Michael Pineda, after he struck out 16, he followed up with 5 1/3. Cliff Lee followed up his 16 strikeout performance with 4 strikeouts against the Florida Marlins, the then Florida Marlins, in 2011. Remarkable that there's been that many since 2011. 16 strikeouts or more.
It's just not something you see every day. It's a lot of punch outs in the game.
I was impressed though with what Scherzer did. Scherzer followed it up without any difficulty at all. Not only limiting the opposition to runs, but also picking up some more Ks along the way. Cabrera down the left field line, and that will slice out of play, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Cabrera overall hitting .349. He had 3 hits and 4 ABs in yesterday's game. Outside, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Off the mask of Cameron Rupp.
I don't miss those, Tom. I really don't.
That one wasn't, fortunately, I guess for Cam, that wasn't square, but he still felt it.
The ones that hit you squarely and dropped right at your feet, they hurt the worst.
Another fly ball to left field. Goodell. See if the wind keeps this one in play. It will. It's a fair ball and caught by Goodell. 2 outs. Well, Murph, it's kind of an oddity. He did not strike the first 2 batters out. He got them to fly out to left field.
Very odd after striking out the side in the first inning. It's funny because when Vince Velasquez arrived in Philadelphia, won his spot in the rotation during spring training, he still kind of remained a little bit of an unknown to all of us and to the fans as well. But what we've seen over his first 2 starts, one thing we know for certain, that strikeouts are going to be part of the narrative when it comes to Vince Velasquez. And you see what he's already done in the National League. That is updated today. He is right now 2nd in the National League with 28 total strikeouts so far this season. But what is interesting when you look at that list, guys like Syndergaard, Jose Fernandez, Aaron Nola, all of those guys have already completed their 3rd start. So he's already 1 strikeout away from being at the top of the National League, and he still has most of this game to go. So as we follow his progress, and it's not going to certainly be all about strikeouts, but it's going to be fun to watch this guy as he sits guys down. It's certainly going to be part of what we talk about going forward.
Absolutely. All the fans have talked about since his appearance. It's all we've talked about is just how his command of the fastball has been so good. That's popped over the dugout and out of play. Travis d'Arnaud did not play in last night's game. He had been hit in the left elbow this past weekend in Cleveland, hit by a pitch in the left elbow. And they were hoping that he would at least get a chance to play tonight. Unfortunately, after all the treatment, he was able to get back out there. And a strike on the outside corner, 2-2.
A good looking breaking ball there.
Velasquez has got his signs, and now the 2-2 pitch. Outside, 3-2.
Nice to be able to just dial up 97, isn't it?
It's the second time he's dialed up 97 in tonight's game. It's been limited 94, 95. That'll be out of the play over Murph's head.
Just found out from Jerry Savage on Twitter that 85363 is the zip code in Youngtown, Arizona, which is in Maricopa County. Thank you for that, Jerry. Funny how that came together.
Over to third base. Franco will back up on it. Good strong throw. Side is retired in order. Let's go down 1, 2, 3, 5 in a row since the home run. That guy right there will lead things off for the Phils. Trying to get back in it, trailing 2-0. Football this week on Breakfast on Broad. 2-0 Mets as we go to the bottom of the second inning. Michael Franco will lead things off. Got some celebrities in the house tonight. There's George Lopez, the comedian, actor and comedian. He spent some time at our office tonight enjoying today's ball game. He's in the area doing a little business. Coming up with a brand new product that he's selling, which you will see in the very near future. Here's Michael Franco to lead it off. Franco 1 for 4 last night. That one is pulled through the hole on the left side, of base hit. Well, Pete Buchanan wanted Michael Franco to kind of shorten his swing a little bit. To put him in the 5-hole. Would enable him to do that in one way, shape, or form. Felt like he was swinging out of his shoes the last couple of nights. And to Michael's credit, he said last night that he knew he was getting fastballs from Antonio Bastardo. That was the at-bat, I thought, where he really looked like he was swinging out of his shoes. And he said he knew he was getting fastballs, and he was trying to do too much with them. And what Pete was trying to say was kind of what you were talking about last night is, you know, don't overswing. Let your hands sort of do the work. And I think that Michael got the message.
It's amazing. We just think as hitters, you know, if I gotta swing harder, I gotta swing harder. But the harder you swing, the slower your bat gets. The really, really good hitters are able to just be quick.
David Lowe doubled last night, and he swings over the top of that pitch. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. That was the slider from Logan Verrett. Played college baseball at Baylor. Had an excellent spring training. In fact, began the year as the Mets long man, one of their long men. Popped it up, third base side. To foul territory goes David Wright. Well, the final game of this homestand in this 3-game series against the New York Mets will be tomorrow night at 7:05. Get your tickets now by going to Phillies.com. Jeremy Hellickson against Bartolo Colon. Two outs. And here's Cameron Rupp. In the dirt, and 1 ball and no strikes to Cam. Boy, the Phillies received some terrible news today on the injury front. Jorge Alfaro is going to be out for some time with an oblique strain. I mentioned that it's bad news because he and Andrew Knapp both have been off to hot starts down in the farm. Alfaro at AA was hitting .500. Now Knapp is hitting really well at AAA. He's hitting .364 with a couple home runs. Not that Pete's looking to make any changes, but from a progress standpoint, it was nice to see those guys get off to a good start.
Yeah.
2 balls and no strikes to Cameron. Cameron back through the middle. That's a base hit. Franco will stop at second base. Phillies have 2 on with 1 out here in the second.
I'd like to see that out of Cameron. Just stay within yourself. Go back up the box. Nice easy swing. How short this swing is. Now if he goes out and tries to pull that pitch, that has 6-4-3 written all over it. This is where one of the keys, string hits together.
Yeah, the Phillies have had base runners in these first couple of innings. And now they've got a chance to score again. They had a runner in scoring position in the first inning, did not score. Now they have a runner in scoring position here with Tyler Goodell coming up. Travis d'Arnaud was throwing down some signs, wasn't he?
I don't think there's going to be a double steal anytime soon, Tom.
Element of surprise, Ben. Element of surprise. Goodell takes on the inside corner. It's 0-1. Goodell is down on strikes, and there are 2 outs. Velasquez will bat.
Tripled up on the breaking ball here. 3 in a row to Tyler Goodell. This one actually not in the best location. But Tyler just out in front enough.
So now Velasquez, who is 1 for 5 so far this season. 1 to him.
Yeah, that is bad news for Alfaro.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Because that's what you want out of your mind. You just want to keep developing every day.
You know, the key for him was, I think everybody knew he would hit. It was the progress defensively, more than anything else. Franco's at second base, Rupp's at first. 2 outs here in the bottom of the second. Phillies trail at 2-0. A home run from Michael Conforto. The chopper foul, and it remains 0-2. Noah Syndergaard. How about some of the stats that have been popping out about him today? And the amount of 100-mile-an-hour pitches he threw last night. A handful of different websites had different numbers. The consensus is, though, he's had about a dozen already this year. That one's outside, 1-2.
Best pitcher in baseball right now?
Oof. Boy, that's a good question.
Has to be.
He has been dominant.
Has to be.
One ball and 2 strikes. Chopper foul. As soon as you said that, you know, the names popped into my head. Kershaw.
No.
You saw Max Scherzer.
No.
Jake Arrieta has been pretty dominant.
He has been good, but not this year. Not as good as him. He's a superhero, Tom.
I understand. 1-2 to Velasquez. And Vince fouls it down the right field line and out of play.
Make him work, Vince.
To the Hall of Fame club.
I listened to Vince last Friday. He was on the morning show with Angelo and the morning team, and he was talking about how his dad made him play all these different sports. Every day it was a different sport. Soccer, basketball.
Over to third. David Wright backs up on it. And they go to the second base to retire Rupp. And the side is retired. No runs, 2 hits, 2 men left. 7-pitch at bat for Velasquez. We'll go to the third. It's 2-0 New York. Log on to Phillies.com. Go to the fan section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. All right, Ben, here we go. The question is, what 2 Mets hold the franchise record for most RBIs in a single postseason? The answer will be revealed a little later on. Boy, John DeSangro is really forcing you to learn your Mets trivia.
He sure is.
Either that or he's just tired of you guys getting the answers correct. Logan Verrett will lead it off here in the top of the third. It'll be Verrett, Granderson, and David Wright. First pitch from Velasquez is outside, 1-0.
I think one has to be from last year and one has to be from the '86 team.
Is that a rhetorical
I was hoping for either maybe a bell or something that I'm on the right path.
I will tell you in no particular order that you are right and wrong.
Huh.
One ball, one strike. One ball and two strikes. Since 1984, 10 pitchers, including Vince Velasquez, have had 16 strikeouts or more and no walks in a complete game in baseball. Some of the names that he joined with his performances last time out, I mean, it's sort of a history lesson in pitching. 2-2 pitch. Chopper back towards shortstop. And Freddie Galvis throws that one right by Ryan Howard. And Verrett is safe at first. I have no idea what happened there. Freddie did take his time once he got to it, but the ball ticked off Ryan Howard's glove. But honestly, I don't know. Well, it's an E6. This will give us a good look. It just ran. It ran away from Howard, but I don't know how he didn't catch it. It's going to go down as an E6. I don't think Ryan, he must not have seen it.
You think it'll stay E6?
I don't know how he didn't catch it. Yeah, well, I don't know. No, I don't know. 0-1 pitch to Granderson, way upstairs, and it's one ball and one strike.
Well, regardless, it needs to be better on both ends.
I would agree with you on that. It kind of started sailing into the runner. He should have caught that ball.
Yeah. It's like Ryan had his feet planted on the right side of the bag, and he just was too slow in moving to the left side of the bag.
I would agree with you on that.
It just didn't seem like he was in a very athletic position standing
on the middle of the bag.
On the middle of the bag. You have to be able to go both ends.
2-1 to Granderson. He went around since Greg Gibson. He's had a lot of those check swings in the first two games of this series.
Watch how Ryan's on the right side of the bag here. His foot needs to be more neutral than over to the right side. He just doesn't get back in time to make the catch.
Also right on top of the bag. A bit outside, 3-2. Tyler Goodell out in left field. And he makes the grab. One away. David Wright's coming to the plate. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. Well, you talked about David Wright's numbers here at Citizens Bank Park. He certainly did some damage last night against the Phillies. And if you ask yourself the question, does he always do damage at Citizens Bank Park? The answer to that is yes. How about this? He has more hits and more home runs at Citizens Bank Park than any other Met in history has at any other away ballpark. That's how successful he has been in Philadelphia. But it's not just the Phillies that he beats up on. It's the NL East in general. You take a look at the numbers. 36 home runs career against the Phils, but 35 against the Braves, batting .327 against the Marlins, and doing the damage against the Nationals as well. So over his career, I mean, David Wright has been one of the best players in the National League when healthy, and well, he does some damage. I think the wind's going to catch that one, though.
It will, and Odubel Herrera will make the grab. 2 outs.
Thankfully, the winds are prevailing here at Citizens Bank Park.
Winds are whipping. Well, our Cadillac home run replay was Michael Conforto his last time up.
Breaking ball by Vince Velasquez, and 0-2 pitch. Not exactly where Vince wanted it. Conforto goes down. Had the hat trick last night. Was on his way for his first of the night, but worked out for him. 2-run homer.
Well, visit your local Cadillac dealer for attractive lease and finance offers today. Inside and low, 1 ball and no strikes. Conforto's home run is second of the year. He has 8 RBIs. Yeah, that one will be in the center field for a base hit. Verrett will stop at second. Michael Conforto now has 7 hits since moving into the 3-hole. 7 for 17. And Yoenis Cespedes will be the batter.
He's got a good looking swing. He really does.
Cespedes struck out swinging his first time up. Back playing the outfield for the second straight day. He DH'd the entire weekend in Cleveland. I guess he dove into the stands to try to catch a ball last week. He was a little banged up and literally dove into the stands.
Yes, he did.
Pulls that one foul toward the camera well. Third base side. No balls, 2 strikes. Drive to deep left field. It is gone. A 3-run home run for Cespedes. He came back with the 0-2 breaking pitch, which, Ben, you pointed out the rhythm that he had gotten into a couple innings ago. And Cespedes was waiting for it, and he lined it into the seats for his 4th home run of the year. Interesting that he is falling into that pattern, or at least he has tonight.
Just something I've noticed since the first inning there, and this ball just needs to be in a better location. That ball is smoked out to left center field.
All right, so 5-0 New York. Here's Lucas Duda. Duda struck out his first time up. Off the hands, back to the box. Velasquez has it, and the side is retired. Well, as it turns out, all 3 runs are unearned. Charged to the line of Vince Velasquez. We'll head to the bottom of the 3rd inning. It's the Mets 5 and the Phillies nothing. will lead things off. Galvis grounded out his first time up, so the Phillies down 5-0. Trying to get the offense rolling here. First pitch is low, 1 ball and no strikes. It'll be Galvis, Herrera, and Blanco against Logan Verrett, who so far has allowed 3 hits. Phillies are trying to find a spark in that leadoff spot too. The leadoff hitter for the Phils, the #1 batter in the lineup, hitting just a .140 combined, which is 15th in the National League. Now that's not going to solve all of the Phillies' offensive problems. Those will be solved as the offense puts together the ABs, kind of like they had in spring training. But Pete's talked about that he's trying to find the formula to get some offense going with the first couple of hitters in this lineup. 2-2 pitch. Fouled away, and it remains 2-2.
Good teams take advantage of other teams' mistakes. It's exactly, and I mean exactly, what the Mets just did last half inning.
Yeah, all 3 runs, as we mentioned, are unearned because of the error, which was charged to Freddie Galvis. And then Cespedes launched the home run, 3-run home run. Conforto's got a home run tonight and a base hit. Galvis sprays that foul.
However this at bat turns out for Freddie, this is what I personally would like to see. At bats like this, not giving up, not swinging at balls in the dirt, battling. And Freddie's seen a lot of pitches already this at bat.
Fly ball left center field. Cespedes into the alleyway is there. And he makes the catch. That's another 8-pitch at bat. 1 away, and here comes Odubel Herrera. Odubel walked his last time up. And the walk streak now for Odubel is at 6 consecutive games. It's the longest streak since Michael Young did it back in 2013. And I think if you kind of put together the person you would have expected to have this kind of a streak, it probably wouldn't have been Odubel Herrera. The longest streak in Phillies history since 2000, I should say, was Bobby Abreu, who walked in 13 consecutive games. Now that I would expect.
That man could see some pitches.
Bobby also did it that same year. He walked in 12 consecutive games. In fact, since 2000, if you go down to the top 10 on that list, Bobby is Bobby did it 3 times. Ryan Howard did it 3 times. Pat Burrell did it twice. There's an oddball on that list as Odubel hits it foul. Ben Francisco walked 8 straight games.
Francisco.
That was back in 2011. I say that's an oddity because you have Abreu, Burrell, Howard, and Jason Worth, who are part of the most walks in consecutive games since 2000. High fastball, and it's swung on and missed. 2 strikeouts for Verrett. MLB.com at bat. Follow Phillies baseball live with the MLB.com at bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with live game video highlights, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. Blanco singled his first time up and got caught between first and second on that play.
I think of Bobby Abreu. remember being in the trade room when I was in camp with the Yankees, and I was in there talking with Bobby about all things Phillies and this and that. And I don't know how we got on the top conversation. It's a foul ball down the line, but Derek Jeter said something, and he said, "Oh," and Bobby Brave said, "Yeah, I was in my Lamborghini." He said, "I was going 260 miles an hour." And Derek goes, "You went 260 miles an hour?" I said, "Yeah, 260." Guys, I think you probably meant kilometers per hour. I just did it. It was 161 miles an hour.
That's still fast.
But I think him just sitting there saying, I went 260.
Maybe he was part of the Talladega Speedway or something.
260.
1 and 2.
Needless to say, Jeter got a kick out of that.
maybe he meant he went 260 miles or something, like in distance. No, huh?
No.
And Blanco hits it off the glove of David Wright into left field, so he's 2 for 2. They'll bring Howard to the plate here in the third, and the Phillies down 5-0.
Nice piece of hitting there by Andres. And Tom, I want to let you know that Ryan Howard, his first at bat, he flied out to left.
Flied out to left.
Making the adjustments, Tom.
I'll tip it. It's 0-1. Two. Howard takes up and in. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ryan ran the count to 3-2 in his last at bat and wound up flying out to left field. Way outside. Blanco will be off and running on this pitch with 2 men down, and they count 3-2.
If you're Ryan, you have to be looking fastball here. Up 5-0 in the third inning. You want to bring Franco up with 2 men on. You got to be sitting dead red here.
There he goes, and he hits that one into the shift into shallow right field, backhanded by Neil Walker, and the side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. We've completed 3. We'll go to the 4th with the Mets on top, 5-0. places. Let's go Phillies. Hello, Ben Davis and Greg Murphy. I'm Tom McCarthy. It's 5-0. That's on top. We go to the top half of the 4th inning here at Citizens Bank Park. Vince Velasquez will face Neil Walker, Asdrubal Cabrera, and Travis d'Arnaud. Velasquez's scoreless streak to start his Phillies career ended in the 1st inning because of the 2-run home run by Michael Conforto. It had been 15 consecutive innings, which was 10 innings off the franchise's record for scoreless innings to begin a career, which was 25 by George McQuillan back in 1907. Velasquez's streak of scoreless innings, though, was the largest or longest in baseball this year. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike to Neil Walker.
Such a great thing about baseball is that they actually have that stat. It dates all the way back to 1907. It really is a game built around numbers.
I think the other part that's great is all of the sites around the game that are evolving based on the numbers. Inside 2-1. We talked about Fangraph before. I mean, if you go to that site and there's some of the craziest numbers that you can pop up and utilize about tendencies, the way things have gone even to start this season. 2-1 pitch to Walker in the air to right field. The wind is going to bring it back, and low, about 4 steps from the track, is able to make the catch. Well, a little different story than Conforto's home run. That one was way up there, and the wind was able to help Velasquez and the Phils. 1 out here in the 4th. And here's Asdrubal Cabrera. Cabrera is 0 for 1.
Pretty good pitch there, Tom.
Pretty good pitch. Ground ball right side. Blanco flags it down from one knee, fires to first in time. 2 outs. So Cabrera is retired. Excellent play by Blanco, playing second base for Cesar Hernandez tonight.
Excellent play. Gets down to that one knee, fires a strike to Ryan at first base. So he set himself. He knew he had a little bit of time because of how hard the ball was hit.
That ball's hit sharply to short. Freddie Galvis throws a strike across the diamond in time. 1-2-3 inning for Velasquez. Second 1-2-3 inning of the night. Defense helped him out behind him, and we'll head to the bottom of the 4th. Avery Neon shipping labels ensure all your shipping messages get noticed. Perfect for any priority message. And WB Mason delivers the same day when you order by 11:30. Local service, personalized. Who but WB Mason. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning. And Michael Franco will lead things off. It'll be Franco, Lowe, and Cameron Rupp. Jay Dunn, the official scorer for tonight's ball game, is just informing us that they are going to change the error from Freddie Galvis to Ryan Howard in the 3rd inning. And they will give an assist to Freddie Galvis on the play. The runs are obviously still unearned. 3 unearned runs charged to Velasquez. So the error for Howard is 4th of the year. As Franco takes a strike. That looked a bit low. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. And 1-2. He waves at a pitch out of the strike zone. That's the 3rd strikeout for Verrett. He's 1 away for David Lowe.
Breaking ball here. Obviously, Michael doesn't pick up any rotation. Goes fishing in the dirt. The first out of the inning.
Well, this is now 9 1/3 scoreless for Logan Verrett in his 2 starts. 6 innings his last time out, 3 hits and no runs, 2 walks and 6 strikeouts. David Lowe popped out to foul territory first time up, and he takes a strike. It's 0-1. David Lowe called up to play in yesterday's game, was hitting .280 down to Lehigh Valley. Pulls that one through the hole. That'll be a base hit for David Lowe. So 1 out single. Phillies Baseball Academy is open for business for boys and girls aged 6 to 14. Baseball and softball camps across the Delaware Valley. 4 divisions allow for age appropriate instruction. Professional coaching and skill development from Phillies players, coaches, and Baseball Academy instructors. Many weeks to choose from. A camper reunion night at the Phil's game. For more information, call 610-520-3400 or go to the community section at phillies.com. Cameron Rupp singled up the middle, his first time up.
Just keeping them close, Tom. Just keeping them close at first.
Boy, they give Cameron Rupp the hole at shortstop. David Wright is a few steps over toward the line.
Walker has crept a little bit more towards second base here. He had a single up the middle to Cameron last night and had another one to start this evening's ball game.
Lowe draws another throw over.
See Neil Walker here, right there. He was shaded a little bit more towards the second base bag.
That one floats outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Logan Verrett pitched 3 years at Baylor. Cameron Rupp played at the University of Texas. So we got 2 Texans going at it right here. Verrett during his college years He won 19 games, and his earned run average steadily went down as his college career moved on. He was drafted after his junior season. High fastball, and it's 1-2.
See, he knows how to pitch. You look at his stuff. How many times do we say, does he have stuff? I wouldn't say it's overwhelming, but it's putting it where he wants it, changing speeds very effectively.
Chopper back towards short. That could be 2. There's 1 and 2. 6-4-3 double play. And the side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, and nobody left. We've completed 4 innings here at Citizens Bank Park. We'll go to the 5th. Mets up 5-0. Talk about the Flyers have a critical Game 4 against the Caps. Of course, the final game of this 3-game series. Plus, the Eagles prepare for the draft. Watch Phillies Sports Talk, presented by Comcast Business, weeknights at 5 only on Comcast Sportsnet. Velasquez will go to work here in the 5th inning. Barrett reached on an error his first time up, and then scored on the 3-run home run by Cespedes later on in the inning. And he bloops that one into right field, and that will be a base hit. And Lowe is finally able to track it down, got his feet caught, throws to second, and Barrett is safe at second base. I wouldn't necessarily say safe and secure, but safe at second base. A leadoff double. That's his first career double.
He catches this fastball late, sprays it down the line. I was kind of surprised that he took off towards second base here. He has a cigar in his back pocket. He didn't want to break it.
Well, that is his first major league hit. Not only his first double, first major league hit overall.
Wow.
So now Granderson, who is 0 for 2, he has struck out and fly to left. And he takes on the inside corner. It's 0-1. This is probably, well, I don't think probably. I think this is going to be Velasquez's last inning. He's due to bat second. I think the Phillies hope they can get him through this inning. They've got Oberholzer, who's warming up in the pen. Off the hands, down the left field line. And it's 0-2. Brett Oberholzer was throwing earlier. Now he's just stretching. It looks like he'll start throwing again. Bob McClure and Pete Buchanan conferring in the dugout. Towering shot deep down the right field line. It's going to go foul. And it remains 0-2.
Kerr's getting really a steady diet of fastballs inside. I think he just opened up and was able to get the barrel to that one. Young man's very happy. The foul ball.
Not expecting it where he's sitting tonight.
No.
See the comparisons between the first 2 starts for Velasquez and what he's done tonight in 4+. And that got a piece of Granderson, so runners on first and second with nobody out. David Wright is coming up. Looks like Pete is thinking about it here. And it's Araujo who now starts to warm up in the bullpen.
Boy, that pitch was really an errant pitch there by Vince. It's about as wild a pitch as you're going to see. Although it wasn't a wild pitch scored as a hit batter, but
well, Bob McClure is heading out to the mound to talk to his young right-hander. Well, he's battling here tonight. He doesn't have the same stuff that he had last week against the Padres. Velocity is still decent. Command is not exactly the same. And obviously the error makes things a little different now. This could be a 2-0 game. Instead it's a 5-0 game, so it looks like it's even worse. Phillies win-loss comparison, averaging 2.8 runs per game in their wins, 2.4 in losses, and there's not a huge difference there. Obviously, team batting average is very similar. It's all about the pitching. When they win, the earned run average for the starters is under 1, and the bullpen is excellent.
That's something.
David Wright is doubled. He's also flied out to center field, 1 for 2. Pitch outside, 1 ball and no strikes. Barrett, who doubled his first major league hit, is at second base, and Granderson, who was hit by a pitch, is over at first. David Wright fouls it away. It's 1-1.
Talk about hitters when they try too hard, they overswing, they swing too hard, their bat slows down. A lot can be said the same for a pitcher. Sometimes you want to make that perfect pitch. You really want to throw the tightest, most sharply breaking ball you ever threw in your life, and you end up hanging it. It happens, and I think that's what Vince is going through this evening.
You see that fastball at 92.
Now I'm really going to throw this breaking ball. I'm really going to make it tight. You try too hard and you hang it. And how quickly does that 30 seconds go for Bob McClure? I mean, you walk out of the dugout and you're 20 seconds before you get to the chalk.
That's why you got to do a little trot when you get out there. Breaking ball and a bit high. It's 3-2. Just didn't have the bite on it. Conforto's on deck. Velasquez will not face him. 3 balls and 2 strikes. And a strike 3 call. The first one was close. That was ball 3. That one looked like it was a little tighter. And here comes Pete Buchanan. So that's going to be it for Velasquez as we watch this pitch come through. Whoop.
Definitely at the top of the zone, but I think it's strike nonetheless.
So 4 strikeouts for Velasquez, and his evening is complete. Buchanan will take the baseball from him, and the young right-hander's day is done. Elvis Araujo is coming on for the Phils, with the Mets on top 5-0. All right, Ben, here we go. What two Mets hold the franchise record for most RBIs in a single postseason? I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint for this. I know that you probably have an idea of who the first one is. But the second one, just so you know, he was in the news today, and he's a former player.
I'm going to go with Daniel Murphy.
Daniel Murphy is incorrect.
I was going to go.
Which is that's who I would have thought about.
Because of just what he did last season.
Correct.
And the other one I was going to go with David Wright.
David Wright is incorrect. Curtis Granderson with 12 in 2015, and John Olerud with 12.
Oh, you could have said he was a former teammate of mine.
I was going to get there, but you were so off track. Log back on to Phillies.com to find out if you're the winner of a Phillies prize pack.
I wasn't even in the vicinity.
Do you know why he was in the news today, your former teammate?
I do not know. Was he in an eating competition?
He was not. As you look at Araujo's numbers. Fourth ball game, ERA 3.86. Outside, 2-0.
And I say that about Big Root because, you know, me, Tom, I'm really good at eating.
I didn't know that.
Big John was the only guy, we'd never know it because of his body, but he could eat more than me.
Really?
Yes.
I find that hard to believe. Out to center field, and Odubel will come running in, make the catch. Verrett went back to tag, but there are two outs, and Cespedes is coming up. All right, so here's why your former teammate was in the news today. The Pac-12 All-Century baseball team came out today.
Nice.
And he was on it, along with the guy that just flied out to center field, Michael Conforto.
Interesting.
And, yeah, Philly prospect Mark Appel was on it.
Okay.
Out of Stanford. Stanford colors going on right here.
There you go. Was Big John on there for a hitter and a pitcher?
Just as a hitter.
Just as a hitter.
Mark Pryor was the all-century pitcher. Joined on that team by the likes of Tom Seaver, and the list is lengthy. Trying to think some other names that would stand out for you. 0-1 to Cespedes.
It's a great honor for Big Rude.
Cespedes takes inside. It's 1 ball and 1 strike.
Rude, where do you put it? Where do you put it? I mean, he never put on a pound.
Was he about 6'4"?
He was every bit of 6'6".
Oh, okay. Inside, 2-1. When was the last time you saw him?
It's been a while. It's been a while. We'll text each other every now and again.
Ask him if his metabolism is slowed down. Swing and a miss, 2-2. Cespedes had a 3-run home run his last time up. He's also struck out tonight. Ground ball to third. Oh, nice play by Michael Franco. Flips to second in time. Again, that ball was behind him, and he was still able to flag it down. Side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, 2 men left for the Mets. We have played 4.5. Little bit of defense by Michael Franco over at third to help out Elvis Araujo and get us through the top of the 5th inning. Ben Lively, boy, what a week he has had. In fact, what a start he's had. 3 starts, his record 2-0, his ERA 2.00. He's allowing less than a base runner per inning pitch. See that, 0.78, 12 hits and 18 innings of work. Citizens Bank, the next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself, ask a Citizen. That's nice to see. Lively, who was acquired in the Marlon Byrd deal with the Cincinnati Reds. Part of the stockpiling of pitching prospects that the Phillies put together over the last year or so. 5-0 Mets as we roll to the bottom of the 5th inning. Tyler Goodell will lead it off. There'll be Goodell, and then the pitcher's spot. Emmanuel Burris is out in the on-deck circle. Tyler Goodell, whose brother is part of the Mets organization. His brother Eric Goodell. A 1 pitch. Swing and a miss. It's 0-2. Oberholzer throwing in the bullpen. Off the hands, back to the mounds. I think Goodell was wondering if the home plate umpire had said anything. He looked back a couple of times. Not that it would have mattered, but one away. Emmanuel Burris will come up as a pinch hitter for the Phils. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph.
All right, thanks, Tom. It's time for our Coors Light Cold Hard Fact, presented by Clean Crisp Coors Light. And, well, it has to do with the man in the middle there, Terry Collins, who got to win number 400 as the New York Mets manager last night. And there he falls third on the list all-time for the Mets. Davey Johnson up top with 595, followed by Bobby Valentine. But number 400 for Terry Collins last night, creeping up that list for the New York Mets.
Yeah, in his 6th year as the manager of the New York Mets, got an extension this past offseason. Talking to Dan Worthen in the Mets dugout. Terry's looking out, kind of perplexed about what Pete Mackanin wanted to talk to Ed Hickox about. This is what happened the last time up. Goodell hit one off the plate. That's it. There was nothing else to it. I think Goodell thought that the home plate umpire had said something, and that sort of piqued Pete's interest.
Tyler did look back there a couple times.
He did. Manuel Barres hitting under 100. He's 1 for 12. Fly ball, short left. Conforto comes running in, and Cabrera says he has it, but Conforto with a snow cone puts it away for the second out. Well, this has been a quiet night offensively for the Phils ball club. They have 5 hits, but they have not been able to capitalize on your initial key to tonight's ball game, Ben.
Yeah, string hits together. One base running blunder in that first inning. That didn't help.
Yeah, mistakes are going to happen, obviously. I mean, during the course of a game. But the 2 mistakes the Phillies have had tonight, the error by Howard and the base running error by Andres Blanco, I mean, those are 2 big mistakes for tonight's ball game. The margin of error is so small that making those 2 errors puts you in a decent sized hole. And Freddie Galvis with a base hit to center field. And he'll hold up at first. 6th hit for the Phillies.
Oh wait, Freddie. Heavier bat seems to be working for Freddie. Dropping those hands in the slot.
Odubel has walked and he has struck out. Outside, 1-0. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Braves are shutting out the Dodgers 6-0. That game's at the top of the 5th. Tyler Flowers 3 for 3 with 3 RBIs. You know, around the league that people might be saying we got to really study up on the Phillies players because there's a lot of youngsters. You have to really study up on the Atlanta Braves. I mean, they've got Freddie Freeman, they've got Nick Markakis, but beyond that, it's a who's who of young Atlanta ball players.
AJ Pierzynski.
All right.
But you're right, though. It is.
Don't ruin my story.
No, that's the only other one I could think of at the top of my head. You're 100% accurate with that comment.
What a 2 to Odubel. Just a bit low, 2-2.
Not by a whole lot.
It's a pretty good pitch.
Especially as a catcher, you're calling for that ball up. You want a high fastball. Throws one low on you. Hard to get your glove back down and make it look presentable for Ed Hickox.
You think that has an effect on the umpire?
Yes, 100%. Just like when you're setting up outside and you get a pitch inside corner.
So it throws them off.
It throws them off.
And this one did not throw him off. It threw Odubel off, who's down on strikes for the second time in tonight's game. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. We have played 5 on to the 6. Wake up, Bernie. We got more baseball to shoot. First at 2:35, that's a special time. The Phillies have been scar-free to all women 15 and older. It's all part of the Indians weekends. Phillies will be on the road. They'll be home for just those 3, and then they'll be back on the road after that. So come take advantage of seeing the Phils and the Cleveland Indians. Fanatic and the Galapagos gang. Whoops. It was going so well up until that point.
It was.
The Philly Fanatic and the Galapagos gang.
Here's Brett Oberholzer, who's finished up his warm-up tosses. Fanatic just put a little hex on the Mets. Might be a little tardy for that one there, Fanatic. And he gone. We go to the top of the 6th inning. Lucas Duda will be the batter. It'll be Duda, Neil Walker, and Asdrubal Cabrera. Oh, and 1 to Lucas Duda. By the way, Ben, it's time to wish a happy 50th birthday today to Eric Tobin.
Yes.
There's a ground ball foul, and it's 0-2. I can't believe that Eric Tobin is 50 years old.
Hard to believe.
Hired by the Phils back in 1990. Part of the stadium operations department. He's 50 years old. Doesn't look it. I just saw him outside.
Always there to lend a helping hand to the Fanatic.
Duda lifts that one out to right field. And David Lowe makes the catch. Eric and Phil Feather from the Phillies ticket office celebrated their 25th year with the organization this past year. As did Video Dan Stevenson, Kelly Urrigan. They've been a big part of the success of the Phillies at the Vet and now here at Citizens Bank Park. So happy birthday, Eric. Get to join Ben in the 50-year-old party. Neil Walker batting right-handed, takes a strike. It's 0-1.
Not nice, Tom.
Just a bit outside, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike. ball's hit well, and it is not coming back. Neil Walker solo home run. And that's his 5th of the year, his 2nd one of this series. And it's now 6-0 New York.
Neil Walker really not known as a power threat from that right side, but gets a good pitch to hit here. All up in the middle. And at just about the same spot he hit the one left-handed last night. Drills that ball out to left field. Very similar locations there.
Well, for the Mets and Neil Walker, they weren't hitting a whole lot of home runs until they arrived in the ballpark. And now, with the 3 home runs tonight, they have 7 in the series. Cabrera 0 for 2 tonight. He's flied out and grounded out up high, and it's 2-0. Inside 3-0. Oberholzer was originally drafted by the Seattle Mariners at a high school. I said to him, I said, did any of the colleges in the area offer you anything? He said no. So he went to community college down in Seminole County. Certainly helped him out. Selected by the Braves in 2008 as he walks Cabrera. And Travis d'Arnaud's coming up. Braves sent him to the Astros in the Michael Bourne trade in 2011. And the Phillies, of course, acquired him in the Ken Giles deal. d'Arnaud takes inside. It's 1-0.
Brenton's not too far down the road from me, right in Wilmington. Of course, myself living in the Keystone State, Tom.
I was going to say, when did you move?
Westchester and Wilmington are really not that far.
Hop, skip, and a jump.
That's it.
Depending on traffic. Toward the hole, Galvis backhands, throws one hopper off the glove of Blanco. And Ryan Howard will back it up. So Cabrera stays at second. And they scored that an infield hit for Travis d'Arnaud.
As well it should be. If you're Travis d'Arnaud, you got to love the hustle of Asdrubal Cabrera here just to get to second base. Put that pressure on Freddie Galvis to make a better throw. Travis rewarded with a knock. But if he lollygags it whatsoever to second base, he wouldn't be the recipient of a hit.
Well, that's the 7th hit for the Mets. Now Verrett, who doubled his last time up, is up there squaring with runners on first and second. And he bunts at it, misses, and it's 0-1. Ball's at 2 strikes to Verrett. Swinging away, and he swings and misses that. So he struck out. That's 2 gone. And Curtis Granderson will be the batter. Granderson's having a rough start to the year. He's 0 for his last 9, hit by a pitch his last time up. And he takes outside. It's 1 ball and no strikes. In the dirt, scooped up by Cameron Rupp.
Wind has not stopped.
No. Swing and a miss. Foul tip, and it's 2-2.
Love to see him run a sinker down and in here. Most likely go with a breaking ball down and away, though.
Oh, it's hit sharply. Ryan Howard gobbles it up, and the side is retired. 1 run does score, and the home run by Neil Walker. Mets lead 2. Will leave for the bottom of the 6th. Phillies have their work cut out for them. Down 6-0. Your local dealer at ChevyDealer.com. Buy T-Mobile. Get Major League coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE since 2015. And buy your Delaware Valley Honda dealers. Hurry to your local Del Val Honda dealer or visit DelValHondaDealer.com. Last of the 6th inning, the Phillies trail at 6-0. And Andres Blanco will lead things off. It'll be Blanco, Howard, and Maikel Franco against Logan Verrett, who is 3 outs away from putting together back-to-back 6-inning no-run performances in relief, or I should say in place of Jacob deGrom. deGrom threw 71 pitches today in a simulated game, so he's going to be back pitching this weekend for the Mets. There's Jim Henderson. That one's hit sharply to first, and Lucas Duda will grab it. 3-1 on the putout. One away. Ryan Howard is walking to the plate. Is 0 for 2. Here's Henderson firing away. By the way, Manny Machado picked up a hit tonight. He's got a hit in every game that he's played in for the Orioles this year.
He's really good.
Yes, he is. Howard waves at the first pitch. It's 0-1. In the dirt, 1 ball and 1 strike. Fly ball deep to left field. Conforto going back to the wall, and it's going to stay in the yard. He makes the catch for the second out. Well, the wind was blowing a little differently tonight. That would have been out for Ryan Howard. That was like a flick of the wrist right there for him.
That ball was crushed. I mean, he really hits this ball well. It'd be a backdoor slider. Gets up, it just spins. I mean, he hit that ball so good, I thought it really didn't even matter, even with the strong winds blowing in from left field.
Here's Franco. Franco is 1 for 2. He has singled. He's also struck out tonight. Outside, 1 ball, no strikes.
Howie in disbelief there.
Whoop. A little slick out there.
Yep. Played it off well.
She sure did.
Don't let him see you sweat, Tom.
Toward the middle, and Franco is going to watch Walker pick it behind the bag. Well, that time the shift worked for the Mets, and the Phillies go down in order here in the 6th inning. We've played 6. We'll move to the 7th at Citizens Bank Park. Phillies trailing 6-0. Tonight has been excellent for the New York Mets in spot start for Jacob deGrom. A lot of ground ball outs. He's been mixing his pitches quite well.
Very, very well. Mixing some sliders. Has changed the levels at which he was working. Down, up, in, out. The slider's been very tight. It's a very good pitch for Logan Verrett.
Well, your Delaware Valley Honda dealers game summary. Logan Verrett, 6 innings, 4 strikeouts, 6 hits, no runs. Andres Blanco has a couple singles for the Phils. Vince Velasquez, he lasted 4 1/3 tonight and allowed 5 runs. Only 2 of those runs were earned. David Wright will lead things off as we begin the top of the 7th inning. A little high, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Juan Lagares is out of the on-deck circle. And it looks like he's going to pinch hit for Conforto. Out to shallow right field. David Lowe comes sprinting in and makes the catch. Boy, excellent speed, a good read. And 1 out here in the top of the 7th inning. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Nationals and the Marlins are facing off down at Marlins Park. It's 2-zip Washington. Washington with 9 wins in its first 12 games. Jason Worth hit his 200th career home run. In fact, he went back-to-back with Wilson Ramos in that game. Steven Strasburg on the mound for the Nationals in that one. Here's Lagares hitting .250 this year. He takes inside.
Think the roof is open down there, Tom?
That's a good question, Ben. I do subscribe to the media relations Twitter handle for the Marlins, and I don't remember what they sent out. It's funny though, every time they send it out that it's closed, I shake my head. I could be driving in Ballackinwood and they'd send it out and I'd shake my head if the roof was closed. I have no idea why.
I do enjoy when you would yell from the booth, "Open the roof! Open it up! Open it!"
Baseball is a game to be played outside, Ben. There's a strike on the inside corner. It's 1-2.
Thought it was funny last year when my folks came to visit me. As you see Henderson getting loose in the pen, my folks came to visit us in Florida. The roof was closed, and my mom went through her ritual of putting all her sunscreen on. You can never be too careful, Tom. And my dad let her go through the whole process and then said, "You know, Cheryl, the roof is closed." That's just cruel.
Howard into foul territory, makes the catch. We have just received word from our research department and the production cavity that the roof is closed tonight.
Okay.
I don't know why. Probably because the temperatures are in the 80s.
Probably above 80.
2 outs, and here's Cespedes.
You would never do that to Megan, though, would you, Tom?
What's that?
Let her apply all the sunscreen knowing that the roof was closed?
I would not. Nope, I would not. She would do it to me, but Phillies have the shift on for Cespedes, and he takes inside. This is what he did in the 3rd inning tonight.
0-2 breaking ball by Vince, and this ball is really struck well out to left field. Definitely one of those pitches that Vince would like to have back.
You talked about the pattern, you know, Conforto's home run, 0-2 fastball, and then a breaking ball for the home run. Same thing with Cespedes. Did you ever get yourself caught where you were in a pattern and you said, "Oh no, I got to switch this up"?
Yes, yes, I did. Because there were some times where I would get into a pattern where I would think like a hitter,
right,
as opposed to thinking, what is my pitcher throwing at this particular junction of the game to get the opposing hitter out. I would think, well, if I were hitting, I would be looking for this pitch. And sometimes I'd have to rethink or reevaluate the situation.
And maybe throw a waste pitch before then you throw the next pitch.
Yeah, kind of set the hitter up a little bit more.
The David Wright double was also 2 fastballs, curveball. He missed that. He fouled it off, and then he got another fastball, which he ripped to left field.
Well, he went 0-2.
Right.
Yes.
Through the curve, fouled it off.
In the dirt. Yep.
Or in the dirt. That's right. So that's where the pattern began, even though
he got Granderson with it to lead off the game.
There's ball 4. And here comes Lucas Duda. So the Phillies will put the shift on for Duda. Phillies fans, next time you want to grab Phillies seats, get the StubHub app. Not only will you find seats you'll love whenever you want, you can find the best seat for your buck when you sort by best value. We take the price and location of seats and show you which tickets at StubHub give you the best deal. So get to StubHub today. That one's hit well out to center field. Odubel on the run, and he's not going to get it. It is gone deep into the Phillies bullpen. And Lucas Duda has his second home run of this series. Boy, he has squared up some baseballs. It's now 8-0 New York.
Ball was really struck well there.
Sure was. So he went hunting on the first pitch.
Brent knew it. Lucas knew it.
Well, it's back-to-back nights now that the Mets have hit 4 home runs. So they have 8 homers in the first 2 games of this series. And here is Neil Walker, who homered his last time up, his 5th of the year. And he takes low, 1-0.
No, the Mets already had 6 on the board, but leadoff walk. I mean, a 2-out walk leads to a 2 spot here thus far in the 7th inning.
Howard will give it a look, and it's out of play. By the way, in that Washington game tonight, I mentioned that Jason Worth hit his 200th home run. He and Ramos went back-to-back. The Nationals were a little worried about Strasburg's illness, but it looks like he's okay because he's got a pretty comfortable lead.
Unless you're in a tight ball game, tie ball game, up by a run, and there's one particular guy in the lineup you do not want to hurt you. There's just nothing, and you end up walking that particular hitter. Just nothing really can come good out of a 2-out walk.
Oh man, Walker will have his 2nd home run of the night. Boy, the wind brought that back, and it was hooking toward the pole. Back-to-back home runs for the Mets. 2 home runs tonight for Walker. 16 home runs in the last 5 games for New York. It's 9-0. Well, he barreled it.
Yeah. And you're right. I thought that ball was going to go a bit farther.
No, that ball was heading halfway up the seating area as Blanco takes care of Cabrera. 3-run score, a 2-run home run for Duda. Solo shot for Neil Walker. Time to stretch here at Citizens Bank Park. Maybe walk along the Wall of Fame. Yeah, you're right. They've gone home run happy here these first 2 games of the series, up 9-0. By the way, Saturday, May 14th, when the Phillies take on the Cincinnati Reds, it's Teva Respiratory Night here at Citizens Bank Park. And that free cap right there to all fans. All part of a 3-game series. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Jim Henderson takes over on the mound. Juan Lagares, who came on to pinch hit for Conforto, will go to center field, and Cespedes will meander over to left field. There's Henderson in his numbers. 7th ball game, 7 strikeouts. He's had a little wildness recently. And David Lowe will pop the first pitch foul. It's 0-1. Well, Logan Verrett holding down this spot in the rotation for DeGrom. Certainly did his job.
6 innings pitched. 6 hits, just 1 walk and 4 punchouts.
Cespedes sprinting toward the line and makes the catch in foul territory. That's James Russell warming up in the bullpen for the Phils. Cameron Rupp is 1 for 2. He hit into a double play his last time. Sharply to right field, and Granderson will make the catch 2 steps from the track. And Henderson gets the first 2 outs, does so with the help of 4 pitches. And now Tyler Goodell will be up for the 3rd time. Cameron hit that one right on the nose.
Yeah, I like that swing right there by Cameron. He's a really just a big, strong guy. Can really trust himself, and that's how he started to get going last year, using the whole field. That ball was drilled to right field. Unfortunately, just nothing to show for it.
Left side of the infield, David Wright and Cabrera, and it's Wright who makes the catch. Well, that's a 5-pitch inning for Jim Henderson. Didn't take long. Side is retired in order. We'll head to the 8th inning here in Philadelphia. Ball is brought to you by WB Mason. You can't go wrong when you buy right. By your local Ford stores. And by Jefferson. Call 1-800-JEFF now or visit jefferson.edu. Top of the 8th inning. It's 9-0. Peter Borges is on It's like he's playing catch with somebody on the outfield. David Lowe will move from right field over to left field. And James Russell will be the new pitcher.
James with very limited work this year, just 3 1/3 innings pitched. Has given up 6 hits, 3 1/3.
Travis d'Arnaud will be the batter. Takes a strike. It's 0-1. Inside, 1 ball, 1 strike. Oberholzer, 2 innings, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks and a strikeout. That's Rafael Montero. He could be the next star starting pitcher for the Mets. Check swing. They appeal. No swing. And it's 3-1. Down the right field line. It remains 3 balls and 2 strikes. Phillies and the Mets will wrap up the series tomorrow. And Bartolo Colon will make the start for the Mets, and he'll be opposed by Jeremy Hellickson. Jeremy, I think Jeremy wants to get back out there and sort of get a bounce back from the game against Washington.
Yes.
Where he did not have command of his fastball. Swing and a miss. d'Arnaud has struck out. And Eric Campbell will come up and pinch hit.
That's the toughest part about being a starting pitcher. You have
Waiting.
a bad one, you have 4 more days to wait.
Campbell takes on the outside corner. No balls and 1 strike. Campbell pinch hitting for the pitcher, Henderson. That one's through the hole on the left side, a base hit, and that is the first hit of the year for Eric Campbell. So he's aboard. Top of the order coming up. Let's check in with Greg Murphy with the Major League Notebook. Murph?
All right, thanks, Tom. Well, Cubs outfielder Kyle Schwarber finally has had that surgery on his knee. He had it today, went under the knife to get those multiple ligaments in his knee repaired, the knee that he damaged back on April 7th, the first week of the season. It was done by Dr. Daniel Cooper, who is the Dallas Cowboys surgeon and is widely renowned as a guy who is tops in his field at fixing multiple knee ligament repairs. So he got that done today down in Dallas. They expect that the rehab will begin for Schwarber on Thursday back in Chicago. And you guys were talking about the Washington Nationals down there in Miami, under the roof in Miami. Well, more fireworks. Bryce Harper has hit another grand slam. He had a grand slam about a week ago, his first of his career. Hit another one tonight to make it 6-0 at the time. The Nats over Miami Marlins. Number 7 on the season for Bryce Harper. So he remains red hot, guys.
Murphy should not let fireworks out inside.
Oh, you can do that.
You can?
Yeah, absolutely you can.
All right.
They do it every Friday night down there.
With the roof closed?
Yeah.
I think you're fibbing.
You could definitely do that.
I don't think it's safe.
I like living on the edge.
By the way, Harper now 7 home runs this year, 6 strikeouts. 4 homers than strikeouts.
Is that good?
He's bringing fun back to baseball. 3-1 to Granderson.
I guess you could say he's a veteran now. He's 23.
A high fly ball deep to right field, and it is gone. Off the base of the scoreboard. A 2-run home run. It's 11-0 Mets. It's home run derby in these 2 games for New York. 17 home runs now for New York in the last 6 games.
This is something. Lefty on lefty. Granny Man goes down and gets this one, and this is another far one.
Well, it's been a display. David Wright is 1 for 4. He doubled and scored his first time up. 1 ball and 1 strike. David went around. It's 1-2.
I'm a bit surprised that David Wright is even having this at bat.
Yeah, I wondered if he'll play tomorrow. Look at that line score. Swing and a miss. So 2 strikeouts in the inning for Russell. And here comes Juan Lagares. Down the right field line, that'll slice toward the corner, and it's a fair ball, and it kicks up over the fence. It's going to be a ground rule double.
Lagares came in the game last night and delivered a hit. Does the same thing this evening.
Cespedes is coming up. I thought this ball would keep on slicing. It stopped.
We couldn't see it from here, but I was just watching Lagares. He never stopped running, and he knew exactly where that ball was going to land.
Cespedes has scored a couple of runs tonight. And the first pitch is low. 1 ball and no strikes. Two balls and no strikes, and Rupp goes out.
Thought James would go 2 innings unless they wanted to get some work in for one of the other relievers. He already has 23 pitches. And they are getting some big rips. Good idea to run one in here.
It's always that debate about comfortable, uncomfortable swings. Pretty comfortable tonight. 2 balls, 1 strike. 84 on that pitch.
He gets top heavy with those necklaces. Just weighing them down.
I think you get used to them after a while. I just think it's like a muscle memory thing.
I have one like that with 13 on it.
Paperweight.
can't be comfortable. Can it?
I think it's all in the eye of the beholder. You're up 11-0. I think anything's comfortable. Ball four. So Cespedes walks for the second time. And that'll put runners on first and second. Yeah, it's got to that point in the night. Getting a little chilly. You get your hat and your scarf out.
Much different than last night.
So a meeting on the mound. Bob McClure out to the hill to talk to James Russell. Well, it looks like at least this inning is his. I mean, nobody is warming up. Ed Hickox will come out and break the conversation up. Anything ever funny said when a coach comes out and you're just trying to eat up as many innings as possible? I mean, there's nothing funny about the way this game has gone.
Not in this particular situation. I mean, you have a guy out there that's obviously doing his best to get these Mets hitters out. It's just not working out. It hasn't worked out for the Phillies pitchers this evening. So
on the outside corner, it's 0-1.
Maybe if it's a veteran guy that's been around for a lot of years and has seen it all, has had good times, bad times, knows how to deal with that. But I wouldn't say in this particular situation.
Fly ball left field. That one will stay in the yard. And Lowe, battling the wind, makes the catch. Side is retired. 2 more runs scored. The 6th home run of the night for the Mets has given them an 11-0 lead. Still 2 at-bats left. They're hanging around. The play of the game. There have been a couple of bright spots for the Phillies. This was a bright spot by Andres Blanco.
Very nice play here by Andres Blanco to rob as Drew Cabrera of a base hit to right field. Gets up, makes a strong throw to first base. Nice play there by Whitey. That is your Hyundai defensive play of the game. Brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers.
So as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning, it's 11-0. Mets on top. And Peter Borges will lead things off. Borges, who came on to play right field, will get his first AB of the night. Rafael Montero, an inning and a third, 2 runs against the Indians this past weekend. That was his only outing of the year. Delivers outside. It's 1-0. See, 93 on that pitch. He'll be in the mid-90s. Facing Borges, who's hitting a $175 this year, 7 for 40. That one's over the screen and into the sweet level. 1 ball, 1 strike. Kind of a bit out front of that one. And on the outside corner with that breaking ball. Honestly, it was caught toward the outside part of the plate, but that broke the plate. Pretty nice pitch by Montero. And 1 out here in the 8th inning. Let's take a look over top. Watch as this comes in. Oh, no, that was on the outside part. From where we were, it looked like it may have cracked the middle of the plate and just was caught on the outer edge.
That was a good pitch. Definitely a pitch you're going to get at the bottom of the 8th inning when it's 11-0.
That's an excellent 2-strike pitch. 0-1 to Freddie Galvis. Galvis 1 for 3 in this game.
Textbook receiving there by Travis d'Arnaud. Sometimes they just run away from you, Tom.
Just carried it right to his backside to move it into his throwing hand. That is one of the things about Montero is that they say that he has some great movement, good life on his pitches. Look out one. And Samuel skipping around out there.
One of my favorites.
Odubel Herrera waits on deck. Montero's had some excellent minor league numbers. He's 15 games over 500 as a pitcher with an ERA under 3. Quite frankly, at the age of 25, there's just no room at the end basically for him because of all the pitchers the Mets have. It's a nice problem to have.
Keep battling, Freddie. Higuerito, Banica, DR.
Are you asking me that, or are you saying it? You're better at that than I am.
I should ask Murph and Scott. Through their Spanish lessons this winter.
You'll have to repeat that.
No.
Well, then I can't play.
There's a strike 3 called. His hometown is Higuerito. So will the H be silent, Murph? Higuerito?
I think it's Higuerito.
Absolutely, the H would be silent.
Thank you.
San Cristobal in the DR.
You still didn't ask Murph to say it, though. He just agreed with our pronunciation of it.
We'll give him a pass tonight, Tom.
Higuerito.
You forgot the R.
Higuerito R.
Odubel takes outside.
Murph, I would like to publicly thank you for my new pencil case. It really made my day. So let all those fans know.
Come on, Odubel, do something here.
I will say de nada to you.
1 ball and 1 strike. Odubel is 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts and a walk. A liner out to right field, and it does sit. Granderson will play it on a hop. It's a 2-out single for the Phillies. The first hit since the 5th inning. Mets pitching had retired 9 straights. Andres Blanco is coming up. 2 for 3 tonight. Pete said before the ball game, he said, listen, this guy's got the best swings we've got going right now. And well, tonight he did have the base running mistake, but he does have 2 of the Phillies' 7 hits. Odubel takes his lead off first. Yeah, that pitch runs high, 1-0. In the dirt, 2-0.
Does have some movement.
Not much Pete can do at this point. Terry Collins, he's looking up at the board and saying, can they all be this easy? Not necessarily. There's ball 4, and that'll put runners on first and second with 2 men down. First time since the 2nd inning the Phillies have had 2 base runners aboard. In fact, this is only the 2nd time overall. Ryan Howard will come up. Howard is 0 for 3. He's flied out twice. Once to the wall on a ball that looked like it was going to go out. In the dirt, blocked by d'Arnaud.
Montero able to get Borges and Galvis looking, although Freddie did make him work quite a bit. Gives up the single to Odubel, and now a walk to Andres. Falling behind 2-0.
Liner out to center field. That'll drop in for a base hit. Rounding third and heading for home is Herrera. He'll score. Blanco to third. RBI single for Ryan Howard. The Phillies are on the board here in the 8th inning. Howard's 8th RBI of the season. And Michael Franco is due up.
Again, very easy to get caught up in a game like this where you just give the bats away. Nice to see the Phillies not go and do that. And Freddie battled, although he went down looking, fouled off a bunch of pitches. Odubel gets a knock, and Big Piece chases him around there to put one across for the Phils.
Franco takes a fastball in there. It's 0-1. Franco had a base hit his first time up, struck out in the fourth, grounded out his last time to the plate. Grounded out up the middle where Walker is shifted toward the middle of the diamond. Howard goes, pitches outside, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. That'll be defensive indifference, so no stolen base for Howard. But 2 in scoring position for Franco. To center field. That's well hit. Lagares going back, and Lagares reaches up and makes an unbelievable grab. He just robbed Maikel Franco of a 3-run home run. You're not going to see many plays better than that one right there. He knocked the padding off the top of the fence. Juan Lagares just robbed Maikel Franco of a 3-run home run. This ball was smoked. He won a Gold Glove a couple of years ago. He doesn't play all that much except in these spots. And he just showed that there's no rust whatsoever as he makes an unbelievable leaping grab to possibly rob Maikel Franco of a 3-run home run and wrap up the bottom of the 8th inning. We'll head to the 9th here in Philly. Play by Juan Lagares. We mentioned at the end that it possibly robbed Maikel Franco of a 3-run home run. Take a look at this angle right here. It may have hit the top of the fence. Either way, it's an unbelievable catch and a sign of great concentration.
Reckless abandon going into that center field fence.
Now as we go to the top of the 9th inning, Neil Walker has 2 home runs tonight. Walker's 2 home runs give him 6. As Dahlia Hinojosa will check in. The most home runs through 13 games in a season for the Mets is 8 by Jeff Kent back in 1994. Dave Kingman had 7 in 76. Walker has 6 through 13. Or in his 13th. We're not through it yet. Outside, and it's 2-1. There's Bartolo Colon. He's going to start tomorrow's game for the Mets. He'll be opposed by Jeremy Hellickson. 2-1. Out to left field again. This time Lowe will track it down, and he makes the catch. Every time the Phillies pitchers retired the opposition 1-2-3, which Vince Velasquez did twice tonight, Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Wilmer Flores will be the batter. Coming on the pitch hit. 0-1 to Flores. Flores is 1 for 17. Robles. Sharply, and a diving stop by Blanco, who spins and twirls and from his knee throws him out. 2 away.
Do it, Andres.
That might have even been better than the Hyundai defensive play of the game from earlier.
Very nicely done. Maikel Franco had one earlier as well. This play, full extension by Andres Blanco. Gets to his feet. Those a strike to big piece. Nice play. Very nice play.
I think there's a pretty good chance he's back in the lineup tomorrow. Maybe not at second base, but somewhere around the diamond. Phillies have to find some semblance of a combination offensively that will produce some runs. All these different lineups that they've had, we kind of expected that though coming in. Over toward the third base side and foul.
It's just tough for Pete right now, trying to find something that works.
Outside, and it's 1-2. Ball started up at the Hall of Fame club and then just picked up speed as it went down toward the lower level. 2 balls and 2 strikes to d'Arnaud. Off the hands, blooped out towards center, and Galvis is there to make the catch. And that kind of night, Andres. A 1-2-3 inning here in the top of the ninth. The Phillies will bat for a final time when we return to Citizens Bank Park. They trail at 11-1. Mason deliveries of the game. It's becoming old hat for the Mets in this series. One home run after another. It started with Conforto in the first. That was against Vince Velasquez. And then after an error by Ryan Howard, Cespedes takes a breaking pitch.
Cespedes tees off to left field on 0-2 breaking ball. And then in the 6th inning, Neil Walker, the first of his 2 home runs from the right side.
This was a blast. This could have been the longest one of the night.
This was a long one. Into the Phillies bullpen, this home run goes. Despite the wind blowing in, still gets out in a hurry. Here's Neil Walker's second one. Pretty much in the same spot down the left field line. Curtis Granderson off James Russell to right field for a 2-run homer. And off the facing of that scoreboard in right field. And they are your W.B. Mason deliveries of the game.
You know, I'll tell you, I don't know. Granderson's might have even been longer than. Nah, I guess Duda's was the longest one. Duda's, if the wind wasn't blowing the way it was, would have gone into the Mets bullpen, the upper level. That's Flores. He takes over at shortstop for the Mets, and Hansel Robles will be the new pitcher. He'll face David Lowe, Cameron Rupp, and then Tyler Goodell's spot in this order. David Lowe tonight is 1 for 3. He fouled out his first time up, singled in the 4th, and flied to left his last time. Takes at the knees. It's 0-1. David is 2 for 7 now in his 2 games since being brought up from Lehigh Valley. Oh, 2. Robles coming in, firing at 95. Outside. I wonder if Pete's already thinking about the lineup for tomorrow.
100% he is.
How can I maneuver this around? I mean, obviously the home runs given up were a big problem tonight. The fact that Phils have only scored 1 run. Outside, 2-2.
You might see Odubel in the leadoff spot tomorrow.
You know, I do think that he's reluctant to do it because he thinks that, and I agree with him, that he's one of his better hitters, so he wants him, you know, in the productive part, the middle of the order. I think he ultimately would like him 3rd. But I think we may be to that point in this, I mean, even though it's only the 2nd week of the season, where he has had very little production from the leadoff spot, that he may just try it. I mean, it worked last year.
That's why I think you might see it.
Lowe fouls it. And it remains 3-2. Now, with that said, you see Darren Ruff has a bat and is ready to go. With all that said, you could put Odubel in the leadoff spot, but then you got to get everybody else to sort of oblige. And if he gets on, you got to get him around.
Right. Of course, Freddie in there tonight at the top.
Freddie does have a hit there tonight. Well, for Terry Collins, what he's drawn up these first 2 nights of the series, and actually over the last 5 or 6 games, he'll take the production, the power production.
Yeah, I think he'll take it.
He'll take it. If he doesn't, should be ashamed of himself. Another foul ball. He's peppering basically that same area. There's a kid that has a fluorescent green sweatshirt that already has one of the foul balls, and he's running around looking for another one. Out to left field, and Cespedes waits and puts it away. One out. Cameron Rupp is due up. Cam is 1 for 3.
Pitch at bat for David Lowe right there.
Just peppering the ball foul, one after another. One now to Cameron Rupp. Outside, 1 ball, 1 strike. David Lowe had 4 foul balls on that at bat. A couple of them to the same area up here. Sharply past the diving David Wright down the left field line. And Rupp will get to second base on this one. It's his 3rd double of the year. Phillies have a runner in scoring position.
All right, Cameron. 2nd hit of the evening. Goes right past David Wright. He must not be in there tomorrow.
That's what I was thinking.
Can't be.
Darren Ruff will pitch hit for Tyler Goodell. Ruff is 2 for 16. I think there's a pretty good chance that Darren's in there tomorrow, if only because he needs to get some ABs. Outside, 1-0.
Although you do have that rookie on the mound for the Mets tomorrow. Bartolo Colon.
1-1 to Darren. Just a bit high. Close pitch. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And a strike 3 called. Darren is down looking. Looked like a pretty good pitch.
Did. It's a heater. Not a whole lot you're going to do with it anyway. does need some ABs, though, I think.
Well, he does.
Doesn't look very comfortable up there right now.
Peter Borges skies this one on the infield. Wilmer Flores zigzags in, puts it away, and the Mets have thumped their way to victories in the first 2 games of this series as they win this one by a final score of 11-1. New York hit 6 home runs in tonight's game. They had 4 in yesterday's game. So 10 home runs in the first 2 games. The offense for the Mets is our Chevrolet Players of the game. Both of those numbers right there are season highs, as you see. So the Mets win it 11-1. They've taken the first 2 games of this series. Phillies have lost 4 of 5. We will be back to wrap things up right after this.